Hello and welcome back to Studio Comfort's watercolor class. We have a couple of images that we are going to begin with. I started with the pomegranites, which I actually have here in the studio live on a plate. And this was a photograph I took yesterday to prepare for today's lesson. I did a simple tracing onto watercolor paper so that I could make the instruction easier and not spend all of my time drawing, where we could get easily right into the process of laying in color. So I will have that available when we need to refer to it. So right now, it's lightly sketched in here. And if I bring it closer to the camera, you might be able to see the image. Now I can see it quite well. I'm beginning with my palette, which is just a simple white enamel plate. And I learned a long time ago to get in the habit of putting my color on my palette in the same order, placement and arrangement of the color wheel. That way you can learn color placement, color theory immediately. So this one is a little bit of a red-orange, and here's my yellow, and my red will be here. So I will put that right in the middle. I will put my closer to a red on this side, and so on. I really like the larger tubes of Cotman. It's the student grade of Winsor Newton, and it's very reasonably priced. You can find it even at Michael's. So I use that for the most part with students. Now I'm going to work mostly with the reds and a little bit of blue for shadow, which I already have, but I might put some fresh color out. This is ultramarine, which is closest to a true blue. So if orange is here, ultramarine will be here. In color theory, I realized this is in the wrong place. So green should be here. Let me put this here, and I will remove that one so you'll know, because it's a bit confusing. So what is supposed to go right here? I'm going to remove that here in a moment. Violet, that's right. Blue and red make violet. Red and yellow make orange. Blue and yellow make green. So with basic color theory, if we are working with an orange, this is going to be, say, our red-orange. I think I'll turn it like this. Look at that color, red-orange. So if I pull my red-orange, that means I'm going to add red and orange. And I always put a lot of water in the middle of my palette. So here is my color. I also like to have some scrap paper to do color testing to make sure I'm getting the color that I want. So here is my first application. That's just a nice red-orange with some water. Now the color here has some variations, doesn't it? To darken a red orange, we actually use a blue-green, which this phthalo has. So just a tiny bit of that with a little bit of green. I mix some of this into my red, and look how it gives me a bit of a dulled red. It's a little weak. The important thing is when you're dulling a color with opposite from warm and adding cool, we really need to replenish that color or it will end up being watered down and weak. So I'm gonna pull this color back out. You want a nice, strong amount of color so you can see it. So it should be more like this. See this compared to the original red, the diluted dull red based on a blue-green added to it, and this is a much stronger color right there. See if you can see that in the good light. Wonderful. It helps to mix up my colors beforehand, so I'm not having to pause and really work on the colors I need. So this, if you look closer, I'll move the light to where you can see a little better, is actually a pale little bit of a blue, a watered down, maybe a little bit of cerulean right here. So if I want to capture that, see, maybe even more, this is cerulean. This is going to be more into the shadow. Starts to get darker because the same theory applies. If I want to dull a warm color, I add its complement across the color wheel. If I want to dull and darken and diminish the brightness or intensity of a cool, I mix and add a tiny bit of warm. So here's my cerulean. You'll see as I just keep it pure, it's going to get brighter and brighter and brighter. So that's a good color for my shadows. So I have a sense already where I'm going to find the color that I need to complete. This is an interesting composition because I have the three primary colors. I have red, I have a little bit of yellow, it might be a yellow-orange, and then I have blue. They typically are very hard to balance because each primary color is strong and wants to dominate. Right now, we could say the red is the strongest, the yellow is the lightest, and the blue is the darkest or the dullest. So I will pause there and set up to begin the painting.